So today is going to be just a sit down and talk video. Yeah, Lulu agrees. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about my hysterectomy, what I've done, what's happened, why I had it done, and also, I mean, that kind of proves why I haven't been on here for a while. So I want to share that with you. I want to warn you a little bit as well. I'm going to talk about periods, I'm going to talk about women problems, I'm going to talk about a little bit of this and that. So if you're not interested, go somewhere else, because I'm not going to be ashamed of what I'm saying. Okay, so 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I had a laparoscopic assisted vaginal hysterectomy. That was a mouthful. I got rid of my uterus, finally, and it feels good to have it done. I've been waiting to have this done, so it's really good. And most of you don't know, because this isn't something that women normally go out and talk about, is that I have pretty much my whole life had problems with my periods and everything around it. So I finally decided that a hysterectomy is the best thing for me to do now. I've pretty much tried everything else. Okay, so where do we start? Maybe we should start with the story of why I was having this done. So we can do that. Ever since I started having my periods, and I was quite young, I think I was 10 or 11 when I started having them, I've always had a heavy flow. And that was something that is just normal. My mum had that as well, so for me it was like, yeah, okay, this is what a period is like. Nothing strange at all. I went through all these awkward stages of bleeding through my clothes in school, which was really embarrassing. Always being worried about what I can and can't wear. Even as a young girl, this really affected me a lot. But then again, that's life. That's what a period is, isn't it? At least that's what you think it is. And then in my 20s, I started to experience a lot of pain, and I couldn't really explain it. So one day when I was working, actually, I had to leave work and go straight to a women's clinic because I was in so much pain. I remember sitting on the tram or the train to go into town, and I was kind of squealing. I was sat there kind of trying not to say anything because it was so painful. Anyway, I got into the doctors and she said that, well, you probably have endometriosis. They didn't really check for it, but all the signs were endometriosis. So she put me on a medication to stop my periods for a couple of months, to let this endometriosis kind of dry away where it was. What she called it then was blood blisters or chocolate blisters. I don't know, it's different. I'm old, so a lot of things have happened since. Anyway, I went on that treatment, and after that it was a little bit better again, and I went on my normal life, my heavy periods and everything about it. I was always really regular, so I kind of knew exactly on the date when my period was coming. I had my 30 days, well, you know, around 30 days. And it was good, it was perfect, because I could plan things. I could always think that, oh well, I don't want to go on vacation on that week because that's when that's going to happen, and da. So it was good. I always knew. And yeah, the years went by and I just managed to live with it. I was used to it. All the pain came back, of course, heavy bleeding always. And then I met my husband, of course, and I had my first daughter. And with her, because it was an emergency cesarean, I had a cesarean then, of course, and I didn't have anything really, no problems. I've never taken birth control or anything like that because I didn't like that. And I'm sorry, I'm going all over the place here, but I'm trying to think about what I'm saying. Anyway, I've never had birth control. I never really liked that. I don't like the idea of putting hormones and things into me, so yeah. Anyway, my daughter was born, and I had cesarean, and everything was fine. No problems with that whatsoever. I still had my heavy periods after that, and the pain, it was still there. There's no difference whatsoever. And then I had my second daughter 3 years later, and she also had to be delivered by a cesarean because I had something that's called placenta previa, and that is where the placenta is kind of in the way, the natural way out for the baby. So I had to have a cesarean to not risk me or my daughter's life. So after my second daughter was born, I started having a lot of problems again, a little bit more than I had before actually. So I went to get some help for that, and what they did then is they did an ablation where they kind of scraped my whole endometrium, got rid of everything in there, and that would give me a little respite. It wouldn't be bleeding as much as otherwise, and it would kind of help me get a little break from everything, all the heavy bleeding and all that. What they did see, and I'm struggling to really translate this from Swedish, but it said that there was a lot of polypy tissue in the endometrium, and yeah, there was nothing wrong. There were no strange cells or anything that shouldn't be there. So I'm sorry, the sun just came out. I'm getting blind here. Anyway, I had that done, and it was good for a while. Sorry, I just need to pull the curtain up a bit. There we go. It's a little bit darker now, but hey ho. That was done, and it was better for a while, but then it started again, and a lot of pain, heavy bleeding, and one of my gynecologists referred me to a research, or a gynecologist that was doing a lot of research, and she was trying out a new treatment, and she was working on something called adenomyosis, and that is where you got the endometriosis but inside the uterus wall. Instead of endometriosis kind of spreads outside in all kinds of different places, it can stick to different tissues in your body, but an adenomyosis is inside the wall, so it's kind of in the wall of the uterus, making it all weird and bubbly and whatever. And they thought I might have that, so I had lots of different examinations and everything like that. They couldn't really see it in me, but it didn't mean that I didn't have it. So I went on this treatment. I was taking a pill every day, and I think that was for about 6 months, so it was a long time, and I had to report filling papers and everything and whatever, and it did work for a little while. It felt better for a while, but then it all just came back again. And I mean, I pretty much, I feel like I tried everything, and my gynecologist then said that, well, okay, you do not want birth control pills because you don't like that, but how about if we put in a coil instead? So we went to put in a coil, and she tried. I was awake, and just like a normal gynecology visit. She tried to get it in, she could not get it in. The first one she had to discharge of that one because it didn't work. She got a second one and tried to, and I was in so much pain when she did it. She just said, I can't do this, it's not working. So the option we have is a hysterectomy, or that we do this when you're asleep. But as it is now, I cannot put this coil in, it doesn't work. So I was like, yeah, okay. I felt like just leave it at that time, and it just felt like, oh well, you know, I've had this for so many years and maybe soon I'm going into menopause anyway, so just leave it. But we then moved to England and left everything in Sweden, and I was still having these massive problems, and now my period started to really act up, and it was extremely difficult to live with it, because I could have a 2-week period and then I could be off for 3 weeks, and then I could have another 2-week period and be off for 6 weeks, and then maybe I had a 3-week period. I mean, it's just awful. There was no control, anything. It was all over the place. I never knew when I was going to have my period compared to before, when I was really consistent. I knew exactly when it was coming on. It was like clockwork. Now I never knew, and it was always on for a lot longer than the normal week to 10 days. I had a lot of heavy bleeding. I had a lot of gushing. Sorry, I'm getting all into it now. Where, I mean, if I stood up, it would just poof, and my pad would be full. I mean, there was no stopping it. I don't really have to explain that this was affecting me and our life and anything at home, because I was tired. I didn't want to do anything, especially when I'm on my period. I don't want to go out and do things because what if I kind of bled through everything? And yeah, absolutely awful. So I started to get help over here as well, and we were talking about what we can do, and once again we came into this coil situation. So we did a little bit of examinations, and they said that my uterus would kind of bend backwards somehow. I had very strange shaped uterus, and that was kind of the first I heard of that. So I thought, okay, that might explain why you can't put coil in or whatever. But he then said that, well, we can do that, but we can put you to sleep. So they put me to sleep, put the coil in, and afterwards he said that everything went fine, no problems whatsoever. We had to put a little bit longer threads, and yeah, you know, for you that know what I'm talking about, you know, you need threads. So they put a little bit longer threads in there, and everything was okay. And I went home thinking, yay, this is really good. And when I'm saying a coil, I mean a Marina coil. I don't mean the copper ones, because the copper ones can actually make you bleed even more, so they don't want to put that in. And I thought, yeah, this is going to be really good, perfect. And oh, I forgot to mention also, I am sterilized, or was sterilized when my second daughter was born. I decided that when they're doing the C-section, they might as well sterilize me, because I was 39 years old. I don't want to have any more babies anyway, so yeah. And the coil now that they were putting in was just to help with the periods. And I thought, yay, this is good. And then you need to check kind of the it's in there still. And I went for a checkup with my normal GP doctor, and they just said that, well, we can't feel any threads or anything here, this is a little bit different. I was like, okay, what now? And also my periods kept coming as normal, no big difference really. So I went to hospital again, they did a scan and what did they say? Oh, well, look, there's nothing in here. They said, I can't find the coil. And I'm thinking, oh goodness me, what is this? So she kept looking and looking with the ultrasound and going over the place, and she said, no, I can't see a coil. So now we need to send you to x-ray, because the risk is sometimes that the coil kind of wanders in the body. If it doesn't come out the natural way, it can wander if you're really unlucky. So I had to go and have an x-ray to see that it hasn't placed itself somewhere else. So I had an x-ray and no, there was nothing there. It was gone. So without me even knowing, it come out. So I didn't have a coil anymore. So now when I spoke to the gynecologists, they had a look and said that, well, the only option now is a hysterectomy for you to kind of get in control of all your problems. So I just said, yeah, do it, please. I just want rid of it. I don't want this anymore. It's just too much. It's taken up too much of my life, and I just want to be able to relax for once. So we planned it, and it was quite funny because when I was in last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry, I was looking at the papers where you signed the consent and all of that, and it was signed 2020 in December 2020. So that's how long I've been waiting to have this hysterectomy done. And it also came out because I talked about my uterus being kind of bent backwards somehow. They also said it's almost like heart-shaped. So it was just a very different shape to it. I don't know if this is because of my cesareans. Might be that there's some scarring tissue, there's some whatever in there, haven't got a clue. But a few months now before I had my hysterectomy, I started to having a lot of pain in my right side, down below on the right side, kind of where your ovaries are. And that got me really worried because I thought, okay, is there something else going on here? And just before surgery now, I told the doctor I have had some really, really bad pains in that area. And I wanted her, when they were doing this surgery, to have a little closer look just there to see what's going on. And she said she would, which is really good.